It is thus not the basic empirical approach per se, but Hume's a priori exclusion of God as a plausible cause that derives his argument. So he just kind of assumes it at the beginning and says that it can't be possible for God to be the cause of this, so therefore miracles aren't possible. So one starting premises about atheism, deism, or theism will therefore shape one's conclusion, he says.
Right. So notice it's the presupposition. It's your starting premises. It's what your background beliefs about atheism or deism or theism, then that kind of shapes the way you will hold miracle accounts. That's what he's getting at here. And that's what he's, criticizing Hume here for. Now he asks the question, does science pronounce on theology? Right. And he says those today who claim that science or historiography denies the possibility of miracles are repeating not scientific observations, but philosophic premises stemming from Hume. Right. And so scientists are experts, notice he tells us, about the normal happenings of nature. But when asked whether something outside the norm happens, they no longer speak as scientists per se, because how to address anomalies or metanormal phenomena is not a scientific question. They are philosophic questions. Right? So science involves repeatable events. So it normally cannot, as science, pronounce judgments on specific, unique events in history, such as many define miracles to be. Now, he acknowledges that among past events, the Big Bang and current observations of past events in the history of the universe are exceptions to this, but he says these are large-scale events rather than the less predictable details of history and human life.
Right, right. So, a good scientist is going to want to observe it, they're going to want to test it, and they're going to want to reproduce it. Well, if miracles are miracles, then how do you reproduce a miracle? Well, if it's not possible, then it's just easy enough to hand wave it away and say, well, it's not possible, rather than saying, well, this actually might fall outside of science here because it doesn't have a repeatability pattern in there. Well, in principle, examination of enough miracles could produce some discernible patterns as well. Nevertheless, such patterns could not be scientifically formulated if a supernatural actor is a personal being. Personal agents operate on a higher and less predictable level of complexity than mathematical predictability in the basic principles of physics. So think about, how about prayer? If you get enough people who have the same belief systems that they offer prayer, and someone is on their deathbed and they get better. Okay, so you've got your group and they do it again for somebody else. Well, the person that they're praying to is a intelligent being who has their own desires and whims, and so it might not be within the confines of that deity's desire to heal the second person. And so do you say then miracles fail? Well, no, it just doesn't offer for a scientist that higher and more predictable level of complexity that something like doing 2 + 2 over and over again will always get you 4.
Or throwing the rock in the air and it falls onto the ground.
There you go. Yeah.
Always falls, same speed, everything like that.
Yes.
The rock, the apple, even the orange.
Right, exactly. To see our discussion of orange, see last